I can't take this. I can't take the pressure. I can't take the drama. I can't take the roller coaster ride of emotions. I feel like I'm being manipulated. I feel like I'm being toyed with.
They're gaslighting you.
My heartstrings are being tugged like one of those big, huge, strong men pulling the cars.
Cole, you've been taking your blood pressure meds, buddy?
Why?
Okay. If you're listening to the audio podcast, just pop on into the VOD just so you can see that face that Cole just made. Just stop on real quick.
It's the face of, I can't take it anymore, guys.
We've reached that point, Cole.
We've reached that point. And what is that point? Week 9. Summer split, regular season. 100 Thieves in contention for playoffs. Look on the outside a little bit, looking in.
On the outside a little bit.
A little bit. We're standing in the open door.
Yeah.
And we're taking a peek in and we're like, do I want to be at this party? Or we could leave.
Playoff party. Do we want to go to the playoff party?
Now, let's take show of hands in chat in here. Who wants to go to the playoff party? Me.
That's me. Mario.
It's 100 Talk, everybody.
Hey,
we want to go to playoffs.
Yes.
I'm this guy. He's that guy. This is that team, and it's that time.
Yeah. Man, from a neutral observer perspective, couldn't ask for a better conclusion to the summer split. High drama, high stakes. We got a red rivalry coming up. Highest stakes of all time.
It's gonna be one. Is it though? Because we had a 5-game playoff series with them.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it.
Okay,
say it.
he's raising the stakes, everybody.
I said it. Well, here, let me make my case.
Okay,
this is the last red rivalry of all time. I said that the last time we played them, but this time it really is the last red rivalry.
Wow.
Yeah,
the last time we played them though, they won.
They did. That's the other reason this is a high stakes game.
I can't follow the logic.
Well, because we want the revenge. We're gonna go out, ending the red rivalry with them potentially knocking us out of playoffs.
Well, yeah. You know why? Because they ain't gonna be Clutch Gaming anymore. That's the real end of the rivalry.
I'm getting
That's
at.
right.
Yeah. That's why this is the last one. I mean, it's not the red rivalry.
Dude, I'm just a little slow on the uptake today.
What is Dignitas's color like? Ghosty yellow.
Ghosty yellow. I believe that the actual name is Ghostly yellow. The official Pantone color of Ghostly yellow. It was color of the year in 1789.
They're going way back, digging through the archives on that one.
That's right.
The old mustard is what
but look, we're not here to talk about Dignitas colors. We're not.
We are. We did.
Yeah, sort of we are, but not right now. Not right now. We're here to talk about what was an up and down weekend. A weekend that looked like it was going to be full of heartbreak and ended full of fixed heart for you and me. If it's heartbreak, there's heart fix.
Yeah. I think we should just copy paste this opening segment. It was a great weekend until it wasn't.
It kind of is the standard opening for us.
It has been the story.
How many times have we made it was the best of times, it was the worst of times joke?
It's a tale of two cities.
Yeah.
Hearts were broken and hearts were fixed.
Heart fix.
We're reaching, if you guys hadn't caught on with the good and bad.
Yeah, we're running out of ways to say it because it's the norm for us, which is why we find ourselves, like I said, in the doorway. Will we go in and go to playoffs? Will we leave? Well, we could have taken a huge step towards playoffs if we would have freaking beat Golden Guardians, but guess what? We didn't. Spoiler alert. This podcast will contain spoilers about the games that were this past weekend, and we freaking lost.
Yeah, man. Golden Guardians. Are we talking about Golden Guardians now? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, let's talk about Golden Guardians. That's what we're supposed to do. Is talk
that's
about
what
the
we're
games
really here to do.
Yes, that's this show.
Yeah.
This show.
I know. Yeah. This is a team that so going into this weekend, I said TSM's had our number. Golden Guardians has had our number, dude. They make us look goofy. Like they pull out some weird stuff that nobody's expecting, or at least I'm not. and they make it work, and they make it work well in a way that feels completely like we just feel powerless when we're playing against them. Like we had some, some, I'm not going to call them comfort picks, but Thresh has looked good lately. Got the Corki, which has been an almost insta win for us. So Golden Guardians, I mean, they're bringing a new look. We talked about Cloud9's strategy of just kind of banning us out of the game.
This was a
Golden
slightly
Guardians,
different draft strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a very different draft strategy, but they found another way to kind of do through the draft what has happened before.
Yeah. And that's the thing about this one. I mean, you mentioned that they have our number. They've won 3 of the last 4 against us. So it's been kind of sad lately.
Yeah.
A lot of that probably has to do with Froggen. It feels like he's always the thorn in our side.
Yes.
But it was, and I mean, when I look at how that draft played out, that's what I'm centering around, because they got a little goofy. They got a little silly. They played some tricks in the draft.
They did.
We saw Tristana top, which
yes,
apparently that's like a pick in other regions or something, like a real one. I don't know. That's not something I'm familiar with.
A boy strat.
Yeah, we don't do that here in North America.
It worked really well.
And it worked really well. And the other thing we used to do and we no longer do is the Karthus mid. But Froggen said, "But wait, I would like to play it again."
Yeah. Is that's your Froggen impression?
Yes,
or is that
that's
just
my
a generic
impression.
Okay. Yeah, he brought it back.
It is now.
They nerfed it, and they said we're no longer going to allow it to just delete an entire team.
And he said,
"Turns out, didn't matter." Yeah. It still does damage. It's still an ult that hits everybody on the team.
Yeah. So it was just super weird to see, like, the draft was goofy. And those 2 picks really, I think, threw off everything, because even if we have, like, a pretty good team comp, what looks like a pretty good team, especially with the super meta pick of Kled coming through for FakeGod, it was like, okay, cool, like, this is going to work out. And then no. They just, like, they turned the plan on its head by doing something just not meta and weird. And by having those picks be very strong picks for their respective players, they just stacked the deck through the draft, and we were not ready for that. And I don't really fault us for not being ready for Trist top and Karthus mid personally, but it was a problem.
Yeah, I've often wondered this about Froggen. I spent a lot of time the last 2 splits wondering about Froggen, just like watching him dismantle us.
I wonder what Froggen's doing right now.
Not in that way, more in the way of, like, is he just ahead of the curve? Is he finding things that work, or is the dude just really good? And I think I'm landing on he's just really good. I think he's just really good. He played Karthus really, really well, and the Skittles were like undodgeable. You couldn't get around him. He got that after death pick on FakeGod where he skittled him down and then just blew him up with Sky Beam. He was super disruptive, and he did a really, really good job of kind of disrupting our ability to do any kind of engage.
Yeah.
Our engage tools essentially just didn't work.
Right.
Not to say anything about the lane phase and how that went.
And even, like, from a more basic angle, right? It's like Ryu could not lane against this dude. Like, I had a note at 8 minutes, Ryu was already down about 30 CS.
Yeah.
At 8 minutes, man.
Right.
Like,
Corki,
I'm not,
which is
pretty
I mean, that's a good champ for him, and it's a good lane champ for him.
Right. I'm not confident I can get 30 CS in 8 minutes, and that was just the lead that Froggen had over Ryu. Like, that was tough to see.
Well, I mean, in Froggen's, I don't know, this is not his defense, but Karthus in the right hand.
Never defend Froggen. That's the unofficial motto of Underdog.
He's a power farming machine. He's getting the mana refund. He's just blowing up the lane. So, that's the kind of thing that can happen, and that is exactly what happened.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. This is what I want to point out. Even though the draft was super goofy for us, and the start was very rough, because we were down everywhere. When you're looking at the CS numbers and everything, we were talking about, like, the early game, we were down everywhere. Somehow, though, inexplicably, we clawed our way back.
Mhm.
And I did not expect that at all. Based on the picks and based on how everything went early, like, you get like a feeling about the game or whatever, and just like, okay, this is done.
Yeah.
But they showed that grit. The grit that we were missing in spring came back again. Now, that is super impressive. Like, we came back from just a really, really terrible start where we were getting pushed all around the map to legit having a gold lead again by something like 15 minutes. Like that is super impressive from the guys. So we were able to claw our way back in even against these kind of oppressive matchups. But it was just like the transitioning in from that into, okay, what do we do to win the game? And there were a few decisions that ultimately didn't play out the way that we wanted.
Certainly the case. I think, too, as I look at kind of, regardless of individual plays and decisions, I do just feel like that their team was so much better built to win the mid and late games. So I'm not going to, I think there are plays we can and should talk about a little bit. I think of it more as we just had a team comp that wasn't really, there was no way that we could crack their team, basically, so far as I was seeing it. Like Thresh, if he, what are you going to do? Like, you hook Karthus, great, because now your team's dead, because you pulled him right in the middle. You know, even if you kill him, he's going to get 4 kills, especially because he's got an insane power spike.
Mm-hmm.
There just weren't a lot of good options so far as how to open up a fight. And then Skarner ult is basically the only other one we had. And
that's what I was going to say. That's what you do.
Exactly what happened with that.
Yeah. The answer to that is, okay, well, let's Skarner ult somebody and get a pick.
Yeah.
Well, the one caveat to that is you can't pull the dude with QSS. And we forgot that very basic rule. Because it was from that moment on that the game ended, basically. So, in case you need that recap, Amazing came out of River from topside into the mid lane, and he flash ulted. Who was it? Was it Ez? It was Ez?
Yeah.
Okay, so ideally it's like, okay, great choice, but Ez had the QSS. And QSS Amazing, and then Amazing got wiped. Yeah. And they snowballed that into a Baron, and from that point on, there was nothing we could do. Like, there was really nothing we could save the game with from that point on.
And that feels bad, because if they're paying the QSS tax, if they are able to neutralize your Skarner pull, you are a pretty hamstrung champion. And that's not something that we're used to playing around, right? Amazing not having the ability to essentially contribute in a fight. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there are other ways he could have. I think when I think of it, it's kind of like, I think Golden Guardians played this game really well. They identified our team. We were a poke team. We had AD poke on Varus. We had AP poke on Corki. And so they did an excellent job of not doing these kind of prolonged poke battles. And we were a pick team, right, with the Thresh hook and the Skarner ult.
Yeah.
And we could neither pick nor poke them. And I think that's just because they played it really well. Like, they didn't take fights that they shouldn't have taken. They were super slippery. They made sure that they weren't getting caught out, and they didn't let us get the poke down to the point where we could actually kind of force our way into a team fight. So when I think about all those things, that's basically just Golden Guardians playing it right. Like, it's not like we played it wrong, I would say. I think they just answered it appropriately. The
one thing that I would point to, aside from the amazing flash ult, was that Afro just couldn't find his way into this one, man.
Yep.
Like, you're right about, the poke comp, and Afromu just couldn't pick his way in. He couldn't find like the opportunity for the right hook. I'm not sure we even saw an all in from him at any point. Yep. I'm not even remembering any ults. If I'm being
was gonna say
perfectly honest, someone check us on that. But he just couldn't find his way in. I don't think it was he had like a terrible game or anything. I think that you're right. The way that they were playing, there wasn't really an opportunity for it. They didn't ever run into that opportunity. So you're like you're saying, you're dealing with Amazing on Skarner, practically, for all intents and purposes, neutralized once you get to that point in the game. And then Thresh also being neutralized. So you're left with like a Varus, Corki, Kled. Now, Kled and Corki, like they do what they can, but you can't like win a 3v5, right?
No, there's no path to victory with that comp. Those three champions. I think the most telling moment in that regard is when we saw FakeGod in desperation trying to steal a Baron.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
on Kled. He's not a champion who's made to steal Barons. But that's kind of where we found it. I think we're also down a player on that one. So I mean, it was
desperation.
Time.
Yeah.
But it's just like that was, to me, that was very emblematic of the game where we were trying to solve problems with tools that weren't made to solve those problems.
Yeah.
And it was,
That's
I'm sure it's frustrating to play. Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to get those sometimes. I think that's what a good draft can do to the other team.
Yeah. And so, Bidingerim points this out. This is how I feel too. She said, it did feel similar to C9 last game, just slightly less clean from Golden Guardians, but definitely well scouted. It did feel like that. Like there was a solid plan in place. They knew that with the unexpected draft, they could put us into a weird position, and it paid off. And there was just nothing we could do in the end. So, this is just a loss, and we can't really do anything about that loss. Like I don't go through and be like, oh man, if we only would have this or that. Yeah. I mean, I was happy that it was competitive after the first 8 minutes. But yeah, it was just gone, and we can't dwell on it now because we only have 1 week left to make up this difference. So
yeah, and
a loss is a loss.
A loss is a loss. It counts the same, no matter the circumstances. The last thing I'll say on this before you try to transition to our next game, because I can sense it coming. I'm getting better. It only took a year plus. Is
and me calling you out.
Yeah, right. And you publicly announcing that
you, shaming you.
Yeah, a little humiliation and shame goes a long way. Lessons learned from a dad. So
that's the memoir. You can pre-order it at huntertalk.com.
This is all an elaborate setup for our dad memoirs. Here's what I'll say. We've been talking about our identity and it being kind of like this aggressive, proactive, gritty, kind of drag it out team, which is a fantastic identity for us to have and is so much better than what we had before.
Scrappy.
And we've developed
Scrappy
that in a very
boys.
short time. Like, we'd all be happy about that. I think Golden Guardians is a team is building this identity as well. They're building their identity as well. And for me, theirs is like, it's unexpected picks, it's pocket picks, it's weird team comps, it's high level mechanical play from people like Froggen. That's a tough team to beat, man. That's a really tough team to beat. And I think I don't want anybody to think I'm making this direct analogy. I think it's a little bit like what we saw in international play recently, where some of these teams who bring outside the box approaches to a game can beat teams who are very good at what they do in a more standard way. Like, I think the Korean decline is largely based on that. And I think it's kind of like, it feels a little bit like that's our trump card, right? Is these wacky comps. Like, it just doesn't work to play standard into them a lot of times. And so in the best of 5, we'll have to think about that.
Yeah, because we don't have any wacky comps of our own to throw at them. Like, what weird pocket picks are we pulling out?
Right.
You know what I mean? There's just none of that. So you're absolutely right on that. Like, Kled was probably the closest you get to that, and Kled is right now just like on the edge of the meta pick, so it's not really that weird.
Right. Maybe the best thing we can do is just try to have as many different versions of standard ready that we can use. Like, maybe there's a better version of Varus Thresh to go into this team comp, right?
Yeah.
That's probably it. And that's, I think, where we're building to, so it probably works. But.
Or maybe you do something like pull out the Renekton and let FakeGod go off. Moving on.
Moving on.
Game 2, TSM.
Yes. The game of the millennium.
This one was nice. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah. Oh, I love this game a lot. I really loved watching this game.
And getting BrokenBlade on Aatrox was wonderful, right? Yep. Like, if you were to write the script of this game, what other champion would you have BrokenBlade on?
I don't know, the most.
Give him FakeGod's champ. Give
Yeah.
him FakeGod's champ when
Play
he's
it
very
back.
strong.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
But
this
Cole,
is
they've
just.
nerfed Aatrox. There's some changes to Aatrox. It's not the same.
Oh, don't
champion.
make that voice. Our chat's debating that very thing right now. We love you all. We don't mean any of you harm.
I'm just doing. I gotta differentiate that between me and that
Yeah.
voice, right?
Well, if they nerfed him, then BrokenBlade with his bravado decided to grab it because he could beat FakeGod with it, and he was incorrect.
And
that was not the right solution.
He BM'd with it. If
He
you
did.
If you get stuck on a busted champ, you don't BM. You take your licks and you move on. Right.
Well, look, we're hopping ahead. Dang it. Oh, I'm so eager to talk about BrokenBlade getting smashed.
Okay. Let's save it.
But let's pace ourselves.
Let's wait.
Let's pace ourselves. Okay, let's just talk about the draft in general first, because that is how chronology works.
Okay.
So
that's right. You're right.
Also, here's the other thing. They let us have our thing again, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, teams are either thinking about us and preparing or not, and this was the not.
Gosh,
and
it's crazy.
Sejuani came through for amazing, and Corki came through for Ryu. Why? We'll never know. We'll never know why they did that.
I mean, again, copy paste FlyQuest commentary in this portion of the game analysis because it was an equally bad idea. Why would they ban Yumi? I'm pretty sure they banned Yumi.
Let's see this. What does the tape say here? I don't know. Oh shoot, I don't have that one.
All right, somebody in chat. Yep, TSN banned Yumi for us. They banned Yumi.
Great.
So
great.
Not only did Yumi, a champion we played against them last time and lost, I would say because of.
It was because of the Yumi.
It had since been nerfed, and they still banned it instead of Sejuani. What were they thinking?
They were thinking we would like 100 Thieves to have a win today. And so they did it. And you know what? I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it and roll with it. Because not only did they give us Sejuani and Corki, they pulled out Twisted Fate on Bjergsen, which was a little weird, to say the least. And it didn't go so well for Bjergson.
Bjerglad. I don't think it's ever been mentioned before, but
yeah.
I like it.
So to me, we always talk about like, oh, this game felt lost in the draft. Well, that's how TSM, like Talk SM, is probably saying that to themselves on their podcast right now.
Yeah.
Sejuani and Corki. Okay, let's take a second to pull this out. All right. Someone on Twitch. Let me point out who it actually was. This is on Twitter, not Twitch, by the way. This is Ray Miller, our good friend Ray Miller, at MillerTime1919 on Twitter. He posted the record of amazing on various jungle champions. Okay.
Yep.
Jarvan, he's 1-4 on Jarvan this split. Okay. Olaf, 0-1. Gragas, 1-2. It looks like. No. I'm sorry. 1-1. Trundle, 0-1. Skarner, 0-1. Sejuani, 5 out of 7. 5 out of 7 wins. So he's 5-2 on Sejuani, and those 2 losses. At least one of them came on the infamous jet lag weekend.
Yeah, it was. Yes, the first game.
So, if you wipe that one from the record, my man is 4 out of 5. Or I'm sorry, 5 out of 6 on Sejuani.
Yeah.
That is problematic. Why is
5
this
in a
getting
row?
through? Goodness.
5 in a row. Do not give him that champion.
Don't give him that champion. Well, I mean, please give him that champion from our perspective.
Give him the champion. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, Ray, you need to delete that tweet. Delete that tweet so that the internet does not have record of this.
Please bury the evidence, Ray. They cannot know.
Yeah.
They cannot know. Not only that, but while we're talking about that first game where you were like, those ults were, oh gosh. And you weren't wrong. I'm not saying you were wrong. They were about like that. He has upgraded his Sejuani ult. It is now laser guided. Uh, it hit Bjergsen at the instant. That it was pixel perfect. It was a split second that he arrived
Oh
in
yeah,
bot
you're
lane,
talking about that turret dive, right?
and he TP'd in, and I don't know how he did it. My only guess is that he time traveled on that, and he knew the exact
No.
frame that he needed to
No,
press
dude,
the ult button.
no, that's not it. You know, time travel is not real. This was a tool-assisted speed run. It was programmed. It was programmed from the very start. Okay.
Oh, I love that. Yep. That was how quickly can you destroy a Twisted Fate in bottom lane? We just witnessed the TAS version of that.
Right. So what this all boils down to, and we're going to get to the FakeGod BrokenBlade rivalry in a minute.
Yes.
Is that TSM never felt in control of this game at all. I don't know about you, but I never felt like, okay, TSM is really pushing now. Like,
right.
Which is kind of weird because there were some CS leads early for them.
There were some failed dives.
Right. The CS lead in mid for Bjergsen was lost because he had to go bail his boy BrokenBlade out as part of the 5-man like assassination squad sent to kill one person up top.
Oh, can we talk about that play? Are we gonna wait?
Okay, yeah, all right.
Let's
go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. All right.
Okay, are we going to BrokenBlade now?
Let's go to BrokenBlade FakeGod.
All right. So I want you to tell us a little story about some of the kind of reconnaissance that you did following this match, because I think this is very interesting. I think it's a good way for us to open the segment on, just kind of like, what's the situation? Like, how are other people thinking about this rivalry, this thing we've dubbed a rivalry?
Mm-hmm. Are you asking my opinion on that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you got some intel, right?
Oh, well, I have intel on FakeGod's perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's what you're asking for?
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So so he streamed after that game, or it might have even been like. Yeah, I can't remember exactly when the stream was, but it was yesterday at some point, right?
Yeah.
And he was answering a bunch of questions before he went into Champ Select or whatever. And so I asked him, I was like, I a series of questions. I forget what exactly the questions were, but he said this about it. He said that they're cool with each other, that ahead of time they agreed that whoever won was going to like tweet something. Right? And that he doesn't see it as an ongoing rivalry. FakeGod doesn't see this as a rivalry.
Right.
So to him, it wasn't like, I mean, look, there's some kind of story there. Like, and you feel that when you play, and when you talk about it, you need to downplay it just a little bit.
Right.
But look, they sent like 3, 4, 5 people top to kill FakeGod. And we did too. Let's not front like we weren't sending Amazing up there every 2 minutes to try and kill BrokenBlade.
Okay. That's part of this game, though. That's your jungler ganking your lane.
Yes, 2 is not 5.
I've never seen a 5-man. They committed a TP. I tweeted about this. A TP, 2 ults, a Twisted Fate ult, and a Gragas ult, and 5 people, and they traded bot turret to get a lane kill.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out, and the bot turret that went along with that.
They just traded it. It's okay. I think we are the owners of the worst play in 2019,
which was the Baron, Elder against Golden Guardians.
We traded backing for Baron and Elder
plus Elder.
We traded reset on the map. Not a good play. Not our best play. I mean, if we do a not top 15, that'll be number 1. But TSM has given us a run for our money on this play. This was so bad. This was like, it's incomprehensible. I don't understand how anybody. I thought this was the right play to make, and I'm being genuine right now. I just don't get how 5 professionals, several.
I can't get it in anymore, dude. I can't hold it. I'm sorry. We have to cut this podcast, man. I can't do it.
I just don't get it. I'm sorry. They've got championships to their name. There's banners hanging over their place where they're playing. And they spent a teleport, 2 ults, and they traded a turret to get a single
Stop, man.
lane kill.
Stop.
Okay, it's dead.
Okay.
It's dead. We killed
Let me
it.
regain. I'm gonna take a sip of the 100 Talk.
All
Beautiful
right.
mug.
So that's the rivalry. Moving on.
Okay, yes. So bad play.
Oh man, but I do want to. If you want to say anything, I do want to. There's one other thing I want to say about this before we move on. But if there's anything else you want to bring up, go ahead.
No, you keep going. I need to regain composure. I do have more things to say about this, but go ahead.
All right. I think we need to. It's interesting to me that FakeGod said in his stream that he doesn't really view it as a rivalry, and I don't know, man. I don't want to like create drama. I'm not trying to like stir the pot, but it feels to me like this is one of those things where you see this all the time in professional sports. There are players who play harder against one another, right? They put everything into it. I can't imagine that these two guys who are at the top of their respective games don't both want to dominate this lane matchup a little bit more than the others that they play. Do you think I'm wrong on that?
No, you're not wrong on that. You, like I said,
Okay.
you have to give the political answer as a player. And FakeGod is just like the nicest boy, other than Someday. He's, you know what I mean? He's just like so mild mannered about everything.
Right.
He's not going to play into it too much. But look, I mean, BrokenBlade was, how many times did he BM in that game? It was like 3 times before that happened. And let's not forget, FakeGod answered the BM with his teleport in base as they were ending, right?
Right. So clearly there's something.
Yeah. There's
I don't
definitely
watch
something
BrokenBlade.
there.
I don't watch BrokenBlade every weekend. Does he BM that much all the time? Is he just like a BM king?
He's from EU, so I think he does.
He doesn't even consider it BMing. He's just like, well, it's a macro I have that when I'm standing still.
That's not BMing, it's EUMing.
Whoa. EU manners.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I said, and it was apparent that we were playing the game too in that way. Like I said, I know your point is well taken, that that's part of the game is to send amazing top. Okay, but we also typically play through bot lane, and that's really what the plan is.
Point well made.
But him and Amazing looked good. I mean, there were 3, maybe even 4 times when BrokenBlade survived the dive. You know.
Yeah.
So kudos to him. And in all reality, we're making a lot of fun of him, but like he fended off a lot of that, and FakeGod did too in his own right, and that was an exciting matchup to watch. But I don't want to get lost in this, the fact that FakeGod actually won the lane matchup, which was something that we haven't seen. Like we're watching the progression of FakeGod from a year ago, someone who had barely ever played League of Legends seriously, to now he's fighting for a playoff spot as a starter on LCS, and he's got to that point where he was able to successfully dominate a matchup.
Yes.
Like I said, he didn't get the solo kill that we were all hoping for. He didn't get the early dives that he tried to work with Amazing, but he got the CS. He almost got the 1v2 outplay on bot side against BrokenBlade Smoothie, which would have been very sick.
Oh.
But I think we need to FakeGod for that performance. We're seeing him come into his own. It may be gradual. We may see him take steps backwards from this point before he goes forward again.
Sure.
But I mean, this was definitely a respectable performance. I was super glad to see a lot of support for him in the 100 Thieves subreddit after this game, because I feel like the subreddit has always been particularly critical of FakeGod, and so it was nice to see that kind of redemption for him coming off of the back of a strong game, like really strong game from him.
Yeah, he's got huge shoes to fill, right? So I get it, when people hold him to a standard that at times he hasn't quite lived up to. I know that we wanted to kind of, at some point, put a pin in this conversation and save it for more general topics. But I think it's so helpful to constantly remind ourselves he's a player who's been in this game for about a year, right? And he's been at this level for less than a full split. And we've been playing League perhaps longer than he has. Right. So
That's pretty generous language, but point taken.
Yeah, like it's remarkable. The point being, it's remarkable what he's done in such a short time. He's still so young. He's still so inexperienced. I really want to get into the ceiling with you on FakeGod and kind of what we can expect.
Well, do you want, like there's some things that a coach or a teammate or somebody can say about a player that is basically like the kiss of death for their perception coming up. I'm trying to think. There's like a really good NBA example, and it's slipping me right now. Like some coach came out and said a player was going to be the MVP, and he just bombed. Like a young player was going to be MVP. Well, we got it on the heist when Ryu, the god Ryu, talking about FakeGod, said, FakeGod reminds me of a younger someday.
Yeah.
Dang it, man. Why you got to set the bar so high?
Right. You bury that tape too. You ask him to redo that one and just delete your files.
So the question is, when you talk about ceiling, is someday the ceiling? Is he going to be young someday? Is he going to turn into medium someday?
I mean, when he's someday's age, think about that, right? Someday 22, 21, 22.
I don't know. Young.
3 years, let's say 3-4 years from now. I mean, if this guy's playing every game in the LCS for 3 years, just imagine he's going to be a different player.
Yeah.
He is going to continue to improve. And I think for me, the question is just, does he continue to improve at a rate that puts him at that kind of a player like someday? I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of people in the LCS who aren't as good as someday or anywhere close. So it's hard to say.
If I may say, and someone chat, tell me if this is wrong, because you guys all know way more about League of Legends than I do, and quite frankly, you should be the one talking on this podcast. Looking 2-3 years down the line, aren't most of the top laners in NA just going to be too old now? I mean, with a couple exceptions.
Too old.
You know what I mean? Like,
the mandatory retirement.
Like all the powerful dudes are going to be aging, right? With maybe the exception of Licorice.
Yeah, and you got to think about. I think there are a lot of very established top laners right now. A lot of long and storied careers. I think you could probably look at our team and say something similar, though. So
Ray's saying BrokenBlade, but guess what? We already determined his outcome. FakeGod, check that box. Boop. Someone brought up Ruin. I'm not sure how old Ruin is, to be honest. So
yeah, I mean, you got Kumo. Like they're upcomers, right? There's a new batch of top laners who are kind of making some noise.
Yeah.
I'm really at the point, I think, with FakeGod where I've seen enough from him to think that we should probably find a way to hold on to him. Like, it just seems like one of those where, boy, if you can have a really high level, and let's just say like top 4, top 5, like top half quality player who is domestic, that's young. Rare and young. That's rare, and I think I hope that we don't find ourselves in a position where we're feeling pressured to give him to somebody who can see the upside and who has the ability to kind of get him there. Because I think we might in the future see him playing against us in a way that hurts.
Well, we'll have to see what the payroll situation is like, because how much can you pay somebody to be on your academy team? Because right now with Someday, it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I think that brings up the question of, if you need to unload one of your top laners, is it FakeGod or is it Someday?
Gosh, I don't want to talk about that, man.
I know.
I don't want to talk about that now.
All roads lead to that question at this point, which makes it a tricky one.
Yeah. Okay, but so the thing with him is there's a piece of FakeGod that we haven't gotten any assessment on yet. Okay?
Yep.
So we've seen him for not quite a full split. What we haven't seen him do is play in a super high pressure situation where there's a lot at stake. That's what we're going to get the opportunity to see in this upcoming week. basically a trip to playoffs is on the line. So is somebody who's young going to be able to hold up to that extra pressure? Like, how do you handle knowing that you are by far the least experienced player on a team full of veterans when it is time to win or go home, and you are on an island by yourself up in top lane to be the sponge?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's
Right.
not an easy task. So we're about to learn. I think, one of the final things we need to know about FakeGod is how is he under intense pressure, because when he came in, there were no expectations, right? It was like, well, we're terrible, so we're going to try this and hope it works. And sure, there were some people that were comparing him to Someday and like, well, Someday's way better. Why would we ever do this? So he had that kind of negativity to face a little bit, but it's not the same as like you have to make the shot at the buzzer, like that's kind of what this feels like for him.
Yeah. I think personally, it's easy for me to forget that these players are all human, right? Like I feel like we see them perform at such a high level all the time. It becomes really easy to forget that I'm sure that their adrenaline's pumping, right? They've got nerves, they're shaky, like they're filled with self-doubt. All the things that happen to us whenever, like, for me, it's like it's the difference between queuing up for ranked and draft pick, right? Like, it feels different. The stakes are different.
Like, I'm already like sweating buckets when I just like hit,
right? Like, I got my leg going.
For ranked.
All right, cool. All right, come on, man. We got this. Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Don't want to be bronze forever.
So yeah, put that on the LCS stage. Anybody who's doubting that nerves play a role in this, put that on the LCS stage with, some of the world's best players sitting across from you. And I don't think there's a single person. I mean, after a long career, I'm sure it's less of a thing. Or you're in a stadium, right? Like that happens. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
And my early take is he seems like a pretty unflappable dude.
Mm-hmm.
He seems pretty chill. He seems pretty like level. We see a limited slice of it, but I don't really feel like we've seen him tilt. Like, he seems pretty untiltable. Am I forgetting a game?
No, I think you're right. And the thought that comes to mind is maybe comparing him to Saligo, who seemed more mentally fragile, right? Like, seemed more nervous. We know how low his forward percentage was in lane. He seemed to be very like, oh, I don't want to do anything wrong, and I want to fit in on this team, and I want to do a good job. And he's, it seems to be a different personality than FakeGod, which is, I don't think he's overconfident at all. Like, I don't think that at all. But I don't think he's worried to the point where his performance is going to suffer. So that's my guess. You never know. Like, you literally don't know until everything's on the line. So we'll see about that. But I mean, my take on it, my gut is telling me that he'll be okay. And even if we don't make playoffs, like, I have a hard time seeing a game where like FakeGod died 5 times and didn't get any kills.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've seen that come through. I heard that come through. I think it was one of the dives as a point of criticism that it would be nice to see him get more kills. But that was after the weekend where he went 0-0 and 8 and 0-0 and 9 or something.
Right.
And he facilitated that. It was team fights. And yeah, he didn't get kills, but pretty high KP. I think that's commendable. Here's what I'll say. He doesn't tilt. He doesn't int. He soaks pressure, right? Like,
he soaks a lot of pressure.
And he continues to play aggressively. I think that's a pretty rare mix of 4 characteristics for somebody, especially given all the things we've said about him up to this point in the pod.
And let's not forget, he's doing this when, if you're planning for 100 Thieves as an opponent, your first thought is, well, the easiest weakness we could exploit is this new top laner. So he's got the extra attention from, game plan perspective.
Yeah. He has soaked a lot of pressure. I think that for me, kind of the telltale play that sums up FakeGod so far this split is the Renekton play he pulled off against TSM, where he's what seems to be leaving a fight. I think it's 3 people there.
Oh, yeah.
And he walks up as if he's going to try to go back to top lane, flashes back in, and restarts the
and
fight.
does this on the keyboard.
That's right.
And then gets
Yeah.
out of there.
And then leaves and then survives. Right. So I think that's just like a perfect, right? He's aggressive. He made a hugely aggressive play. We've seen other players on our squad over the last 2 years flash into situations that didn't end nearly as well. So he's aggressive. He's got good mechanics. He knows the limits of his champions himself. So yeah, it's turned into a FakeGod, gas up FakeGod session. But I'm here for it, and I think that these things are what will hopefully allow him to perform once the pressure really starts to come onto the game.
Yeah, and I think no matter what happens, as you've pointed out, he's provided a lot of entertainment around this
Yes.
team. He's been a
Meme
really
lord.
fun dude to watch. He's been a really, really fun dude to watch. So
Yeah.
for that, we are
honestly-
ever grateful. Thank you for your service.
Right. He's somebody I hope we keep on the squad. He's been a lot of fun to watch. He plays well. He tweets well.
Yeah. He tweets very well.
More importantly.
So, okay, let's continue the discussion just kind of in the general sense of where we are right now, and then we'll talk playoff race.
Yeah.
Because there's something that we already alluded to a little bit when we talked about the amazing champion record here, where when he plays Sejuani, he wins, and then he never wins any other time. We saw how Golden Guardians messed us up with the draft, right? And we saw how C9 did that the week before. So the question is now, like, do we live and die by the draft? Like, is that all you have to do against us now? And what do we do about that if that's the case? Do you have opinions here?
It feels a little bit. I mean, here's another like saying that we can throw into the mix here. It's feast or famine. I mean, the games that we've won, at least in the last few weeks, we have crushed people. Like, we have multiple games, I think 3 now, where the final stat line is like 11 or 12 to 2 for kills. That's crazy. That's not close. And the games feel that way, right? We've been popping off, which is so weird to say, but is a lot of fun to watch. I almost said amazing. Trying to stop myself. So feast or famine, and that's the same as the where it doesn't work. Yeah, it hurts. So I guess my answer is yes. At this point in time, it's yes. I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I liked one of the tweets that we got today from somebody who I'm not familiar with. So if you're in our Twitch chat, make yourself known.
Yes.
This is Victor A. Ringer at Insurgent Falcon said, "Our champion pool is still too small, and Bang and Afro should play Ezreal and Braum again against Clutch to turn that into a threatening pick for CLG." So we did see Bang be pretty effective on that Ezreal, and it didn't really show up in the stat line. I think he finished 205. It might have been 206. Something like that. So it was still a good stat line, but he was really doing good work on Ezreal, even when it wasn't showing up in KDA. And I think that's a good forward-looking thing, because as we're going to talk about in a little bit, there are a crazy amount of scenarios for us making or missing playoffs, and the clutch game will be a thing, but the CLG game is going to be the toughest one we've had in a really long time, and a very high stakes game. And so I like the idea of looking forward to that matchup and maybe giving them something else to think about. But I don't know if we have any other options other than the Ezreal Braum or something. Like, I don't know how to make somebody worry about us during the draft in a different way, because we were pretty high on ourselves just 2 or 3 weeks ago because the draft seemed to be going so well for us, but it kind of has been solved a little bit by people who are prepping well. So is there anything we can do at this point in the split?
I think one point of solace is not just any team, kind of like we talked about, can pull off what Golden Guardians did, what C9 does to a lot of people. I mean, these teams have an abnormally broad champion pool. Like, they are able to reach to champions and pick those champions in a way that counters what you're doing better than what the standard meta would say is possible, right? Like, Froggen is an exceptional player in that sense, that he brings that to the Golden Guardian squad you always have to be worried about Froggen, right?
Right.
Like you okay, so say you're in draft, right? And you've got what seems to be a pretty solid standard draft going, and suddenly he picks a Lux, right? And yeah, okay, and Lux is not off meta, but Lux is not somebody you're typically worried about coming into your mid lane and blowing up whatever you were going to play that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what happened. Same with Karthus, right? Like Ryu probably is having fever dreams about playing into Froggen right now because it's been 2 pretty unpleasant games.
Right.
So I don't think that's a worry for every team we play against. But for those teams who have that kind of a player, like I'm almost not surprised that Bjergsen didn't do as well against us because he's not that kind of player. He can play standard stuff really well. He's one of the best, but he's not one of those guys who's going to pull out something that you're like,
he's got some weird stuff. He's got the Zillion in his back pocket.
He's got the Zillion. But Zillion is more one of those team enablers, I would say, right?
Yeah. Well, that's
like
fair.
It's not like the Karthus you can take over the game with.
Montgomery 4 in Twitch chat points out we have Victor for Ryu as well, and he did look strong on Victor during this split. Yeah. And that's something that hasn't come out for a while, so maybe that's an opportunity.
Right. Yeah. So, to get back to your prompt on this, I think there are teams where we have to be really worried about that. I don't know that these two are those teams. I don't think DeMonte is one of those players. CLG is just going to be a tough nut to crack anyway. I think they can play standard better than we can. So
yeah,
that's my thought on this weekend's matchups in that regard.
Well, let's talk about the playoff road, and then let's dive a tiny bit more than we usually do into the upcoming matchups because they're so critical. Now, as you guys know, there are so many different ways that this can play out because right now we are tied with Clutch in 7th place. Optic and Golden Guardians are tied in 5th place. And it's even within the realm of possibility that TSM, if they 0-2, they could fall out of playoffs or at least into a tiebreaker situation. So this conversation is not going to be a comprehensive look at every single road to the playoffs for us, but more just the more likely things to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
So looking at what our matchups are, we have Clutch and we have CLG, right? And like I mentioned, the people that we're really in contention with are Clutch, Golden Guardians, and Optic, and then maybe TSM in a weird way. Clutch is playing us, obviously, and then Golden Guardians. So those two teams play each other. One of them will take a loss.
Right.
Golden Guardians is playing C9 as well, so that's going to be tough for them. And then Optic is playing CLG and C9. So everybody who's in immediate contention with us has a pretty tough schedule. I mean, I say that coming from the belief that we'll beat Clutch. So I think, Clutch playing us is bad for them, and then playing Golden Guardians is bad for them. But looking at that Optic matchup, for instance, Optic playing CLG and C9, there's a good chance Optic could go 0-2, which would leave them at 8-10 on the split, and that position being vulnerable, probably gone.
Yeah, right. Because we would finish above that if we 1-1.
Right, and so I don't think I would say that's not even unlikely that Optic 0-2s.
Yeah,
like C9 CLG, that's no joke. And then that's
the betting line.
If we beat Clutch, it's like virtually certain that we'll have at least a tiebreaker opportunity because of this, because of the way it's playing out. Golden Guardians, they just need to split 1-1 and they are pretty much in. Like if they tie with us, they own the tiebreaker now 2-0. So the record being tied will be broken by the fact that they 2-0'd us. If Clutch goes 2-0, then we need to 2-0 to even be in contention, which means that ain't possible.
Yeah, right. It's not happening.
So if Clutch beats us, we have to make sure they lose to Golden Guardians. That's not the strongest opponent on the table either. So all this to say, this is going to be a crazy finish to this split. Like there's a lot of stuff that can go down.
Oh, it's such an intense weekend, man. Every game is going to matter pretty much. There's not a lot of games it's kind of funny. The games that don't really matter are really the ones that people tend to tune in for, right? Top of the table. Like those, it's just minor details, nuance at this point for them.
Yeah. Here, hold on. I'm gonna look up actually what C9 is doing because I need to know. They're in third place. I don't know if they are in contention for a bye or not. Like if they win, I think they're only one game back from CLG. So I think
so.
it's feasible that they could be playing for a bye, so they would actually try and go hard.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will.
Yeah,
They're
they are
going to show up with their strongest lineup.
right. They're
It
one
won't be
game behind
definitely.
CLG. They're going to be going for wins, and they've got Golden Guardians and Optic. So yeah, man, I gotta say it looks good for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good about our chances to make playoffs.
Yeah,
we need to take care of business against Clutch, though.
Yes, if we lose to Clutch, I would say we're most likely out of playoffs.
Right. Like I said,
because then they would actually have a tiebreaker over us too.
Yeah. TSM, as I said, if they go 0-2 and we 2-0'd, then we would both be at 9-9. So there would be a play-in opportunity there, which is kind of like a wrench to the whole thing.
Do you know who they're playing?
They play, top of my head, no, but I'm cheating. They play FlyQuest and Liquid. So they are not going to beat Liquid unless something miraculous happens. And maybe Liquid will take a game off or something because they could.
Yeah.
But
bringing their academy play. I don't even know who's on their academy.
Yeah, but the FlyQuest one, you can chalk that as a win.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time.
So gun to your head, is 100 Thieves going to make playoffs?
Yes.
No hesitation.
Yeah, we win against Clutch. And I think we lose against CLG. And although I'm interested in that. I feel like I don't know a ton about CLG. Like that's just not
because they're kind of like sneak
they've been,
this year.
They've been off my radar a little bit.
Quietly good.
Yeah. So I can't make that prediction with a lot of confidence other than to say they are very clearly a good team. And so I see them taking a game from us. But yeah, I think we beat Clutch, and then I think we get a tiebreaker. So that will be the last game of the Red Rivalry.
Here's what I watched the Clutch games from this past weekend because I was kind of on my I gotta scout the opponent thing, and I think so they played this past weekend. They played FlyQuest and CLG. Okay.
Yep.
And against FlyQuest, they won pretty convincingly, similarly to the way that we did.
Yep.
It was very comparable. But against CLG, they actually had a fairly close one. Like it was competitive and it was back and forth, and they were in that thing. So I don't think Clutch is a pushover. But here's the caveat to that. If you look at their win record, the best win they have for this split is Golden Guardians. They beat Golden Guardians once, and they beat Optic once. They've got no wins against the top 4 teams.
Wow.
0. And here we are. Like, we've beat C9. We've beaten TSM. And we played a super good game. Yeah, we've also beaten Optic. We played a super competitive game against Team Liquid.
Yeah.
I think that on paper we are stronger, and I don't want to write them off.
Yep.
But it seems to me like our ceiling is way higher. Like our variance is way higher than theirs is. And if we lose this game, it'll be because we played bad, not because they played well.
Can you remind me, was Ryu in the last time we played Clutch? I don't think he was.
That was week 3, I think. Is that right? I don't want to be stuck on this question for too long.
Yeah, we won't dwell on it. Yeah. If anybody in chat can call it out, if Ryu played, but I think Ryu over Demonte is strong. I think that's a strong matchup for us. And if he gets a pick that he's good on, I think that will be a point of strength for us. I think Amazing is going to be another point of strength for us. Like, yeah, I just think there are a lot of ways that we can do this really well. If Hooney shows up, top lane could be very interesting. Like if Huni plays at Huni's best, if he's what is it? What do we call him? Ye old Huni.
Ye old Huni, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it was week 2. So Ryu
It was
wasn't
week 2. Okay, so yeah, he wasn't in yet. Yep,
So this is a different look team than the last time we played them.
All right,
and
that's
Huni
a good
has
point.
been really underperforming. Pat Weenie says in the. Oh, I just said that name out loud and I get it now. So yeah, that's good.
Now you get it. Yes, that's why I've never said it on stream. Yes.
You got me, buddy. You got me, Pat.
But yeah, so it seems like I think we're stronger than Clutch. I think we're gonna win that game, which, like I said, means that we'll at least have a tiebreaker. I just think it's likely that Optic is gonna drop both of these games.
Yeah,
and that'll be a big thing for us. So, I think we're in, man. I think we're in.
Yeah.
I do, and that would be. Yeah, I think it's going to be us and Golden Guardians when it all plays out.
Okay. Calling Clutch out of it.
Yeah, I'm calling him out of it. Sorry, Dignitas. Clutch. Clutch Natas.
Clutch Natas. You're going to have to work on that.
Yeah, well, it's Red Rivalry Week, so we will be talking with the league leaders guys later anyway. So we'll have some time to bang that one into shape.
Yeah. Well, hey, we just said it. It's happening.
It's happening. We're gonna make playoffs.
It's been a long road and a very convoluted one, but the time has come, and we can go to playoffs now.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's just go to playoffs. How about that?
I like that idea. That sounds great. Sounds great to me.
All right. Couple quick things before we go. First of all, if you missed it, if you do not have internet, and so we don't know how you're watching us right now, the black premium jersey is going on sale this weekend. All right, so on Saturday there will be a drop. I think it's at noon PST. So
that sounds right.
Yes, that is super exciting. It looks to be a drop, not a pre-order situation. The white premium jersey was a pre-order. This is feeling more like a drop, the way that they're setting it up and the timing and everything. But be there to get the championship black jersey. I'm going to buy 4,000 of them. So, and I'm going to do it solely with the gifted sub revenue that we it's going to pay for 4,000 premium jerseys.
That's not true. That's unless you mean that you're going to gift those all away. I want to make sure people know. That
not for myself. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to buy 4,000 to give away. Yes.
Yeah.
You know how we roll. Who's done more giveaways than us? We've done like more giveaways than
That's
honestly
anybody. Probably true. Yeah. Even the people who get the merch provided to them.
That might be a stretch. I don't know. But here's one more thing. So get the jersey. The jersey's sick. Get the jersey. Okay. Yeah. The other thing is we woke up this morning to a nice, pleasant surprise. And that was that some kind-hearted soul had posted in the 100 Thieves subreddit a 100 Talk appreciation thread. And that was so touching. I was shedding tears of happiness and joy.
One tear for me.
No, I was multiple tears, man.
That's weeping. Weeping
I was no Sean Morenoing, just streams of water coming out of both eyes at the same time. That meant a lot. I'm not gonna lie, that meant a lot. You guys might think that's a little thing, but for us that was really cool. So we love you guys. Really cool. Thank you for doing that. It's good to hear that you appreciate the content and that you know that we're so into this team and so supportive, and we love the community that we've created. We love the people who are along for the ride with us. Everybody's in the chat, gifting subs all the time.
Dylan, looking at you.
Dylan, yeah. Kristonite, Graph, like everybody, and everybody, even if you don't gift subs, if you're just here, you know?
Yep.
It's so cool. And to see the growth of that piece of the community through what has been kind of a rough year for the league team has just been awesome. So we thank you. Seriously, thank you. That was really cool, and we appreciate it.
The appreciation thread is mutual.
Yeah, we're going to make 100 Talk listeners appreciation.
We basically have one. It's just our what's up.
Yeah.
Our WhatsApp. Wow, how old am I? I said what's up. Our WhatsApp thread. Jeez, Cole. Get me out of here, dude.
Oh, I say it all the time. Don't worry, man. We
Okay,
are dads. That's our brand.
Yeah, it's true. I got to stick to the brand.
Yeah.
The Iron Wall. I like that.
The Iron Wall. I mean, I still like Steve Wall though.
Steve Wall is very good. I'm telling you, man, if you listen to this pod on a pod service, thank you. Try to make it into Twitch, the live stream at some point. Our chat is phenomenal.
It's really fun.
You hear that chat? You guys are outstanding. I'm seeing
really
Steve
fun.
Wall now.
And as we've said, it's highly likely you're gonna come out of it with a sub. So just join the fun, man. Okay. Yeah. Huge week. Like I said, we will do a little joint thing with the League Leaders podcast. We don't know when that's going to be and like what form it's going to take, but we'll make sure you guys know about it when it happens. But it's Red Rivalry Week, and this time it really, really, really super matters. So
it matters a ton.
It matters. So, and as we're talking about this, Jay Charnas 30 is giving away subs, gifted 5 subs to the community. Thank you. Goodness gracious. And it's like a new person every time giving away subs. Goodness gracious, man. You guys are insane. Okay, so huge week. Yes, thank you very much. Huge week for us. And so we'll do that. We'll make sure you guys know about it. And then we will channel the 100 Talk buff as much as we can. I'm going to be making 100 Talk Spirit Bomb all week.
Yes.
Like, it will be at least 4 episodes of charging, just like your standard Dragon Ball Z.
Yep. Anything less, it's not a true Spirit Bomb.
That's right. It's not.
Yeah.
So we'll be around. We'll be ready for these games. We hope you are too. And I'm gonna get my playoff juju ready too, because we going to playoffs.
Can't wait.
So I'm gonna see
hopefully
you
our
there
new
at
emote is done by now.
playoffs. Yeah, hopefully. Geez, that thing's been pending approval for a week and a half now.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be ready.
Be a good one.
Anyway, as always, it's been real. It's been heartfelt. It's been insightful because Jordan said a cool thing. And we love you guys, and we miss you already.
Take care, everybody.
Goodbye.
See you playoffs.